Perfect. Hi and welcome, everyone. Really happy that you all could join us at this webinar today on how to secure customers in the MENA region. My name is Arash Sangari, and I'm the program manager for Startup Sweden. I have also the big pleasure to share this intro session together with Laureline from Jitex Future Stars.
Thank you, Arash. Hi, everyone. So my name is Laureline, and I am working for Dubai World Trade Center, and I am taking care of the startup event, Jitex Future Stars. I'm really happy to organize this webinar with Startup Sweden and to welcome the startup ecosystem from Sweden and from the UAE. So Arash, if you can just explain to us what is Startup Sweden and the main objective of your company.
Yes, absolutely. So at Startup Sweden, we believe that entrepreneurs can be found everywhere, but opportunity is not. And that's why we create programs that really support entrepreneurs that get the opportunity to really get to know a lot of people, both investors, experts, but also customers in our programs. And during this session, we will highlight our amazing MENA, Access MENA program, but we will also announce a really great news for all Swedish companies. We will have a Swedish stand at the Jitex Future Stars, and we will welcome all Swedish companies to get in touch with us to see how we can organize that in October. Really looking forward to that. But Laureline, could you please give us a short intro on Jitex Future Stars and how that amazing event is for everyone that has not been there yet?
Absolutely. So in just a few points, Jitex Future Star in just 5 editions has already become the 5th largest startup show in the world. So it's a big success in just 5 editions. We welcome 700 startups coming from 75 countries. So we can really say that we are an international event. Another strength of Jitex Future Star is that we welcome 400 top VC investor coming from around the world. And it's a big moment during the 4 days of the show to network, a big network session between startup and investors. We have tech giants, leading industry players from the Middle East and Africa, and startups, which is a good image of the show. We also have a strong presence of different government entities at the event. They really come at the event to source and to find new startups, to help them to grow their business, and that is something a little bit unique. Many other tech event or startup event in the world, they don't have this government presence at the show, ready to really partner with the startup. Another important point also, it's some of the biggest brands from private governments or government entities also, they come really to leverage some startups. So we have every year some competition organized by Accenture, Microsoft, Dubai Tourism, Abu Dhabi Department of Health, just to name a few. They choose GFS to source the startup and to really make business with them. And this year in 2021, after being the only tech show in 2020 taking place, we will go one step ahead because we will have more international startup, more international visitor due to the Expo 2020 Dubai happening almost at the same moment. So Expo will start in October, and Jitex Future Star will start 3 weeks after the beginning of Expo. So Dubai will be really center stage of the tech world at that moment, and we will have a different business moment with Expo. So definitely 2021 will be a special year and the right platform for the startups to come.
Perfect, thank you, great intro. Time to go on to the next session of this webinar, and I would like to welcome Business Sweden. We will have Masoud Biocchi, Trade Commissioner of Sweden to the UAE, and also Market Area Director in Middle East, together with Simon Westberg, Project Manager at Business Sweden, to talk about the business opportunities in the MENA region. Welcome, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Arash. Thank you, Laureline, and thank you, Startup Sweden and GITEX Future Stars for hosting this very important webinar. My name is Masoud Biocchi. I am the Trade Commissioner of Sweden to the UAE and also the Market Area Director for Middle East at Business Sweden, the Swedish Trade and Invest Council. I think we can move on in the presentation if that is working. That would be great. But Business Sweden is a semi-governmental organization with a mission to support Swedish companies grow their international sales and also attract foreign direct investment to Sweden. We do this by three main offerings: shortening the time to market, finding new revenue streams, and minimizing risk. Here in the Middle East, we have an excellent and strong team of 15 consultants based out of Dubai and Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, overseeing the entire Middle East and Northern Africa. I am very pleased to be here today discussing the topic of supporting startups to scale up in MENA region. This is exciting times where we will see the Expo 2020 opening its door in October, with over 190 countries represented at one place for 6 months. So that is a great opportunity to start growing internationally. And Sweden is too small for Swedish business ideas and opportunities, so we need to grow outside Sweden. Sweden has a thriving. Sorry?
No, please go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Sweden has a thriving innovation ecosystem with Stockholm producing the most unicorns per capita only after Silicon Valley. That is truly amazing. We believe Sweden is exceptionally well positioned to support MENA region, and that's where innovation and entrepreneurship is very important. For this purpose, Sweden and the UAE signed an MOU in 2019 to further deepen the collaboration between the countries when it comes to innovation, entrepreneurship, and SMEs. So for startups looking to enter this region, there are a number of opportunities, but it's also important to know how to navigate the region, and that's where Business Sweden plays an important role. We have mapped out the opportunities for the region, and I'll hand over to my colleague Simon that will give you an overview of those opportunities. So Simon, please.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Masoud. Thank you, Onosh and Startup Sweden. Thank you, Laureline and GITEX Future Stars. I'm very excited to be here today. I've had a lot of discussions with everybody on the call in preparation to hosting this webinar. My name is Simon Westberg. I'm a project manager with Business Sweden based in Dubai the last 5 years, and I focus on ICT and tech and innovation. So that's why I'm here today to speak about what we have identified as the key opportunities and how to handle the challenges and risks coming in as a startup to the market. I just wanted to make sure first that the screen and the presentation is available. I have a few slides to go through. Laureline, if you could just confirm that the first slide is available on the screen with the map.
Please go on, Simon. We are putting the slide on the screen.
Perfect. All right. So let's take a step back a little bit. So we're looking at the MENA region. So it's the Middle East and North Africa region. So we can go ahead to, can go ahead a few slides. To the next one. And the next one. There we go. Perfect. As Masoud mentioned, we operate in the Middle East and North Africa region, supporting Swedish companies looking to enter the market and grow their presence. We support large and small companies, and thereby supporting startups and tech companies as well. So once again, taking a step back and really being able to provide opportunities within the larger region. MENA, or Middle East and North Africa, is a very diverse region, a young, tech-savvy population, and high-growth economies. It's usually around 15 countries, as you can see on the map here. If you look to the right, we have a combined GDP of around $3.6 trillion. More importantly, I think for companies looking to enter the market is that it's a very large population, around 450 million people in total. We have an average of 4% growth in MENA. This is, of course, a rebound from COVID, but still a very positive indicator. If we look to the bottom left, we've identified the key countries that I usually speak of here in the region. We have UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Morocco. Out of these, all of them are having a difficult year from last year, obviously, whereas Egypt is still exhibiting positive growth and will continue to do so. It's one of the most high growth emerging economies globally. So we have a lot of growing economies that are very attractive for companies to come in, even as a startup. Going back to the right, one of the key reasons, we can stay on the previous slide just very quickly. One of the key reasons that this is very interesting for startups is the very high tech savvy population. So we have a 74% estimated smartphone penetration in 2025. For some countries, this is even higher. Looking at the UAE, for instance, we have closer to 90%. We have UAE is ranked one of the highest in the world when it comes to internet usage, around 97% of the total population. So this is a very good starting ground for tech companies utilizing digital solutions. And finally on here, as Masoud mentioned, Sweden does have an existing memorandum of understanding with an innovation between Sweden and the UAE. So there's a strong focus on collaboration when it comes to innovation and entrepreneurship, something that should and can be used in dialogues when startups, when you work with local customers and stakeholders. Please go on to the next slide. We have identified previously, even before COVID, 4 key trends that impact and drive the market development in the Middle East and North Africa. These are urban development, demographic development, economic diversification away from oil, and technology development. And these have, for many years, impacted and driven the development of the markets. We see an impact and a difference due to COVID-19, and I would like to touch upon this for just a few minutes because this is very important. If we look at urban development, this is something that has been negatively impacted, at least in the short to medium term. We are seeing delays and we are seeing more of a focus on specific projects. However, if we look at the 3 remaining ones, demographic and social development, we'll see a boost, more investments due to improving healthcare. Oil independence and economic diversification, we also see a massive shift, a big push towards sustainable solutions. Saudi Arabia announced the Saudi Green Initiative just a few weeks ago, focusing on renewable energy and energy efficiency. And finally, we are seeing a tremendous push towards digital transformation of digital technologies in all of these countries at large. So the 3 bottom ones, we will see an increased opportunity for companies coming in the coming years. We can go ahead to the final slide. And I wanted to highlight a few key specific opportunities that we have looked at. So we have the key mega trends, but then particular opportunities that have arisen and will be relevant in the coming years within the Middle East and North Africa and have specific opportunities for startups and scale-ups are 3 areas that have been identified and are receiving heavy focus investment currently. And these are food security, digital transformation, and healthcare. So food security, this whole region, particularly the Gulf countries, are very reliable on food imports. So COVID-19 has highlighted this issue, and there's a lot of investments going into agri-tech, agricultural technology, as well as organic and healthy food products. And this is an area where we'll see continued investments and opportunities for startups in the coming years. Digitalization, as I said, digital transformation is of course the key effect of COVID-19. We will see a continued investment in many countries. UAE is at the forefront. Saudi Arabia is stepping up and performing massive investments. North Africa and Egypt is really taking a big shift, for instance, within fintech. So there will be several areas mentioning e-commerce, edtech, and cybersecurity in this region. And finally, healthcare. Healthcare will, of course, see a lot of investments going into providing better care, but also providing more specialized care, improving capacity, as well as digital healthcare, where we believe there's a big opportunity for startups to enter this space. Finally, just to round off, we do see a few challenges with working in the markets. We can stay on the previous slide. We do see a few challenges with working in the markets. We just wanted to highlight, especially from a startup perspective, how to mitigate these. So the first one is that market data is often unreliable or unavailable. So it's important to work with reliable and trusting partners in the market. It's sometimes difficult to identify decision makers and understand the decision-making process, which is why it's important to invest in stakeholder management and long-term relationship building. There is a mix of informal and formal business culture, meaning that these markets do provide large opportunities, but it's important to show a commitment to the market. And finally, we have a slightly different in terms of payment terms and the situation in the market. And our recommendation is to be very asset light and perform and push to do a point of or proof of concepts with customers to ensure a commitment from their side before finally entering. So to round off, there are a lot of opportunities in the Middle East and North Africa region. Key specific areas have been highlighted. And hopefully we as Business Sweden, together with Startup Sweden and GITEX, could support you on your journey to enter the region. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Masoud and Simon. So it's time now to introduce our startup panel. Securing your first customer in the region to get some tips, insights, and learning from the startup directly. Our moderator will be Shireen Abdullah. She is podcaster at Spark with Shireen, where she shares stories about tech entrepreneurship in the Middle East and startup growth. And today, the startup guests are Sebastian Bond, Hannah Mckinley, Fanny Modin, I'm so sorry, and Firas Marafi. So please, Shireen, welcome on board, and over to you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. Hi, everyone. It's nice to virtually engage with you in helping spread the word about how MENA can be a great opportunity for your businesses. But you won't hear it from me. You will hear it from startups who've done it, who are in the shoes of where you may aspire to be. So we do have a wonderful panel lined up. All of these panels as companies come from outside of MENA, and at some point over the last few years have entered as well as expanded in MENA. So we're going to get on stage and chat about their journeys. Allow me to first introduce them though one by one. So we'll kick things off with Sebastian Bond. He's the founder of Kitab Sawti, which means Book of My Voice in Arabic, for those of you who don't know. And he actually has a wonderful story of how his company got bought out, and he's now the head of MENA for Storytel. So Sebastian, I'm gonna ask you to say hello to everyone and give a quick 1 minute about Storytel, and what it is that you do as a company here in the region.
Great, thank you very much, and hello everyone. Very nice to be here. So as Shireen said, I started my relationship with Middle East in 2016 when we started Kitab Sawti, that do audiobooks in Arabic, so produce and distribute audiobooks in Arabic. Last year in July, we were acquired by Storytel. and we are now merging the two businesses together, and I'm responsible for Storytel in MENA. So we produce and distribute audiobooks, and so we work closely with publishers and authors in the region, mainly in Egypt and Lebanon and Saudi. And then we produce their books as audiobooks and sell them through our app, which is like Storytel in Sweden, but in Arabic. So we currently have the largest catalog in the world with Arabic audiobooks. Our main markets are Saudi and Egypt and UAE, where I'm based. Yeah, I think that's my introduction.
Thanks, Sebastian. So next is Hannah Mckinley, who's the co-founder of Clara. Hi, Hannah. Same drill. If you could tell everyone what Clara is, that would be fantastic.
Thanks, Shireen. Hello, everyone. It's lovely to be here. Clara is a legal tech startup. We are trying to solve all things startup legals. In our view, the ecosystem is broken when it comes to startups trying to get their legals done. Dr. Google plays a big part in how startups tend to treat their legals. They should be focusing on their product, team, and customer. So our SaaS platform is designed to give people get their startup legals done on the right foot. Whether your goal is to raise funds, to manage your cap table, to generate documents, or just share your due diligence information with potential investors, we're trying to solve that problem for you so you can get back to your product team and customers, the part of the business that really matters.
Definitely. Thanks, Hannah. Next up, another female panelist. Hi, Fanny. Fanny works with Norblock. And Fanny, if you could give a few words about what Norblock does, that would be fantastic too.
Of course. Hi, Shireen. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I work for Norblock and I'm head of business development based in Dubai. I also cover Europe. So Norblock, what we do is we're a Swedish company. We were set up in 2016 and we build blockchain-based solutions for sharing of verified customer data between financial institutions. So just a little bit about me.
Super, thank you, Fanny. And last but not least, Faraz works for What 3 Words. And if in your words, you can tell everyone what your company does, that would be awesome.
Thanks, Shireen. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm Faraz. I lead the Middle East for What 3 Words, based in London. What 3 Words is it's a global addressing system. And we've divided the world into 3 meter by 3 meter squares. And we've come up with a very simple way to communicate location precisely. So in 3 words only, you can communicate any 3 by 3 meter on the entire planet. So we've been working in the Gulf and the Middle East region for about 4-ish years across many industries. Yeah, so that's kind of us in a nutshell.
Super, thank you, Faraz. So panelists, given that the main topic of the panel is around finding your first customers in MENA, I'd love for each of you to share the story of how you went about finding your customer. And perhaps if you can disclose who that customer is, that'd be fantastic too. Any volunteers can go ahead and start, but you'll all end up telling that story at some point.
I can start. The first thing we did was to find authors because we actually need to sign the agreement with them and get started. So to start with, I tried to get in touch with Arabic speakers from Sweden, and the first quarter we spent interviewing Arabic speakers to understand more about the audiobook market and the region in general, and that resulted in us flying down to Cairo and spent a few weeks in Cairo talking to people, and I think that was how we found our first suppliers and our first customers.
That's super smart. On that note, Sebastian, perhaps let's shed some light on the importance of speaking the local language of the region, which is Arabic. Now, I know for your business, it may be a little bit specific because you're looking at featuring Arabic as a product feature. but was being able to speak Arabic a deal breaker when it came to looking to expand into the region from an operations point of view?
No, not at all. I don't speak Arabic, and I've been managing myself pretty well. So I think of course, it's an advantage to speak Arabic. Also, depending on which market you're actually targeting. I mean, in UAE, it's not needed at all. But if you do business in Egypt and Saudi and other countries, it's an advantage, but definitely not a deal breaker.
Yeah, definitely not in the UAE, but I feel that in KSA, you get a little bit of an Arab to Arab discount, personally at least.
It could also be good.
Yeah, for sure. So who would like to volunteer their story of their first customer next?
I can go next, Shireen. So I think in Norblock's case, obviously having set up in 2016, we came to the UAE quite soon after that, already in 2017. And the way it actually happened for us was via an accelerator program. So we were part of the DIFC FinTech Hive, the first cohort there, which really worked well for us. The program ran for 3 months and we received a lot of really good support from the team and a great introduction really to the market. So via that access, we got to engage with a lot of financial institutions. They mentored us, they provided input on our platform, on our solutions. We were able to build those really important relationships. And I think also identify the key decision makers in the institutions that we wanted to work with. So as a result, we were able to run a number of POCs with these banks, and many of them today are actually our clients. So that was absolutely crucial and a really good in for us to build our network and also understand the market really well.
I absolutely think that joining accelerator programs are a fantastic launchpad platform to get anyone going in the local country that they're looking to expand into. I'm curious, Fanny, has Norblock joined or explored any other accelerator program to continue that growth trajectory? And if you have, do you have any insights that you could share with the people dialing in today?
I mean, I think in general, an accelerator program, if you're looking to enter a new market, is a really good foot in the door. For the region itself, we haven't. I mean, we were fortunate enough to sort of have a really good experience and been able to build on that. So we haven't explored really anything in any other accelerators in the region. But I think in general, I would just say it's a very, very good way to understand the market, to build your network, and to hopefully start those relationships that will convert into customers later on down the line.
For sure. Thanks for that, Fanny. All right, for us, Hannah, one of you is going to have to tell me this. Well, tell us the story about your first customer next.
I'm happy to go next. So I think for us, a big enabler was investment that we received from Aramex. And this was, I think, late 2016. So, you know, big brand name and a real enabler at an early stage in our journey in the market. So made having conversations with other players, not only in logistics, but more broadly, much easier and also more relevant. And it gives you that credibility, right? So I think something we saw in the presentation earlier was also having the right local partner. So yes, if you can do that, you know, strategically, or you know, if you're very committed and you have a long-term plan in the market, if you have a local investor as well, that can really kind of aid your development. So there's that, and then I think the next is just basically how, you know, maybe the introductions you can get, the strategic networks you can enter, but you kind of have to start somewhere. So I think in our case, Aramex really played a really big role for us.
So I'm curious, Aramex is practically household name and a very prominent investor in the logistics and mobility space. How did you guys manage to score them as an investor? And in that, is there any kind of transferable learning that you can share for others to keep in mind when they're looking to score a big ticket, let's say, investor to add to their name?
So actually, I mean, when the investment happened, it kind of preceded my time at the business. So I wouldn't be able to answer exactly how the team scored it, but I think, you know, I think why they're relevant is because we do a lot of work in logistics, right? And as a location technology, there are big applications and use cases for Web3 words in logistics, both B2B and B2C. And so the fit, I guess, was you know, kind of a no-brainer. And they also wanted to kind of adopt the latest technology, have, you know, innovative practices and use Web3 words in their operation. So kind of made sense on that front.
Interesting. Normally, I'd say join an accelerator program, which is what worked for Norblock to get people in through the door. For those of you who are listening, in case you don't want to go through an entire program, often, again, looping in that Arabic, bringing in an Arabic speaker who has local network is important, because something called the chai culture here is very, very prevalent. So perhaps for us, before you joined the company, someone had some kind of a wasta at Arabic.
Yeah, I mean, no, we've definitely had people who've had like affiliations with the region. We've had, you know, a British colleague who can actually speak Arabic, and he used to travel out.
There you go.
But yeah, so I mean, no, there definitely are other, let's say, yeah, connections and synergies. There has to be something that you can offer that relates to the region. Otherwise, it does become a bit difficult. You know, it's a culture of relationship building. So yeah, it does help build relationships.
For sure. Thanks for that, Firas. Hannah, last but not least, Clara is due to share its story next.
Yeah, sure. I'm pleased actually I get to go last on this particular one, because I think our story is a combination of a lot of the themes that have already been discussed by the other panelists. So full disclosure, my children speak more Arabic than I do. I have survived a long time in Dubai without speaking very much. I feel a bit guilty saying that. So no, in terms of a business language and being able to conduct business without speaking Arabic, certainly it has its advantages if you can, but it's not impossible without it in the region, certainly. Clara is slightly different in that our customer ultimately are the founders and the investors and the other players in the ecosystem. So a big part of our go-to-market strategy has been to really embrace the collaboration and the partnerships element and the culture that people have talked about already, and very much about building up those relationships, whether that be with the founders themselves or with the accelerator programs, with the investors and the venture capital players in the market. So it's really been about, as well as building the tech for our ultimate customer, the founder, has been about establishing and creating and maintaining those relationships. So Clara was part of the second TechStars program that was run in the region. We were in the Dubai program. It's now shifted down to Abu Dhabi. We did that 2 years ago, and through that was a great opportunity to meet a lot of the more senior players in the venture capital ecosystem as well, obviously through the mentor programs that come in as part of TechStars, the introductions that program meets for you. As Clara has grown and matured, part of our strategy is also to form these partnerships with the key institutions in the region. So for example, the different accelerator programs, the likes of the Astrolabs and New FinTech Hives and so on, to really, dare I put it like this, to close in around the ecosystem and the key players, so that those players within the system are bringing founders, bringing startups to our service. So yeah, in summary, very much about, although it is a tech-savvy region, there's high mobile penetration, people still value that partnership and that relationship aspect, the human side.
For sure. I'd actually like to share a fun fact about Clara. So by day, I work for the DXC FinTech Hives Accelerator Program. So I do actually know of Clara. We've had Norblock come through our program, and Clara's one of our ecosystem partners. One thing you guys do really well, just to share, is you tap into the ecosystem. Since 2018, you guys have made tremendous effort to leverage our network of startups by offering an extension of Clara to them, giving workshops, trials, and so on and so forth. And I can at least vouch that it helps build your name amongst prospect clients. And whenever a startup comes to me and says, hey, who's the go-to lawyer for a startup, Clara's on top of mind.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to give us the plug. That's much appreciated. I think the key message from that, I guess, is that, like I was trying to describe earlier, is that even though we are all here building tech startup, we're all building software as a service type products, that it is still about the people and the connections as well, particularly in those early days, just to build up that virality, if I can use that word.
For sure. Connections play a very, very big part out here in MENA. So let's maybe shed some light on the differences of the various countries, doing business in the various countries in MENA. Because yes, MENA is a geographic region, but I'd like to humbly think that the countries are vastly different in the way that they do business. So for those of you who are operating in more than one country in MENA, can you share any insights on what you've observed to be some key differences? Open floor to anyone, by the way, who has insights to share.
Yeah, I'll jump in very quickly. So I think maybe something to what Sebastian mentioned earlier was, I think, language firstly. So I speak Arabic, but a lot of the time I find myself speaking in English, and in Saudi as well. Although in Dubai, I think you can get by perfectly speaking, or the UAE, get by speaking English, right? In Saudi, I guess it's more contextual, maybe depending on perhaps the type of client and maybe the region. But I also find that people seem to like doing business in English as well, or using it. I think especially in tech, that's what I've seen from my perspective. Secondly, I think in the UAE, you tend to have much more of an international audience, let's say, or crowd. So you might be speaking even with local companies, not necessarily international companies, but who have people who are, let's say, not from the UAE, for quite global representation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the extent of that today in Saudi is maybe a bit smaller, but I'm sure that as Saudi continues to develop and open up even more, that will change, right? So this is kind of the difference I see. And obviously Saudi has a much larger population. So again, depending on the industry you're in, a lot of the relationships you have in the context of doing business might be specific to the region. The UAE, for example, is quite small, and it's especially if you look at Dubai, and it's a tightly knit community. In tech, a lot of people know each other, so word of mouth, information travels much more quickly, even across industries. Saudi is much larger, so it might take a bit more time. That's what I've seen.
For sure. I always tell people walking around Dubai, the locals are a minority, actually, a small minority. And nowhere in the world have I ever felt that the locals are a minority other than in the UAE. Does anyone else have any tidbits or golden nuggets to share from doing business across the MENA region?
Yeah, I can just talk a little bit about that from our perspective. So obviously the sector that we're most present in is banking, and we currently don't work with any other banks in any of the other MENA countries. However, a lot of the clients that we do work with, Emirates NBD, HSBC, etc., they have presence on the ground in other markets. And what I find is that there is, if there's something that's working in a specific market that's working well, there is a lot of curiosity and interest coming from other markets as well. And these regional institutions that we work with have been very forthcoming in sort of showing a willingness to introduce us and perhaps expand what we're doing, the project that we're doing here, to other countries in the MENA region. So I think that's been our experience, and which has been quite positive.
Mm-hmm. For those of you who have come from abroad, how did you identify where exactly in MENA to set up shop? What was kind of the thinking and the process and the research that would have led you to pick one location versus the other? Maybe you guys can provide some guidance to those listening. Again, open floor to anyone to answer.
Yeah, I can go. So I just like to echo what you said in the last question as well, that I think one of the a pretty normal mistake is that people look at MENA as one country or one region. but as you mentioned, it's a huge difference between the countries. But in terms of which country, I mean, in our case, we started in Egypt, simply because Egypt and Cairo is has a very strong literary tradition. So most of the authors and publishers that we work with, they are either in Cairo or in Beirut. So those were the two places that we went to from the beginning. Then in the end, we started a business here in UAE as well, because easiness of doing business, basically. So now we are physically present in UAE and Egypt. But for us, it was very sector driven then.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. We've echoed throughout the convo that people in Dubai don't really speak Arabic. So if your product is an Arabic language focused one, I don't think Dubai is the best place to start off. But definitely Dubai is a wonderful place for talent to flock to internationally, to come live by way of lifestyle. Yeah. And what I always tell people is rappers rap about Dubai. No one's rapping about Riyadh or Bahrain or these other places. So it's easier to attract young talent here. Does anyone else have any views to share on why one location versus another in terms of where to have your MENA HQ, let's say?
For us, it's probably more of a historic reason, but I hope that times will return to something a bit more normal, or the old normal that we're used to soon. And for us, it was about Dubai being the hub and of a number of spokes, and the need to travel and be on the ground in different places. So as well as wanting to attract the talent, it was also about and looking after our people. It was also about the ease of those people to move around the region and to be able to service a number of other places within the region. And Dubai for us made more sense at the time to be able to move around from that particular hub for us.
Definitely. I mean, Emirates is super well connected. Flies everywhere. That helps. Time zone helps too. Everyone, thank you so much for your insights. Perhaps what would be awesome is if we give the listeners a kind of key learning and takeaway for them to take away from today, let's say. And if each of you can share just a piece of golden nugget, and can be about absolutely anything you've learned from the process of expanding in MENA and growing, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm happy to start again, I guess. So I think it's really important to really show a longer term commitment to the markets. I think there's a misconception because of headlines. You see, sometimes big deals, big ticket sizes being spent or dropped in the Middle East, and it creates this misconception. People think they can just quickly jump in, make a buck and leave, and it's really not the way it works. In fact, it's actually much slower in many regards, and I think you need to show that when you're building relationships, that you really have your skin in the game, you're committed to the market, and you're really there to invest in relationships with partners. It's really not a transactional, let's say, culture. In fact, a lot of the business is done in maybe 3 to 5% of the time, and the rest is just relationship building. So if you come from a culture that's not that, it might actually feel quite frustrating in the beginning, which is why I say you really need to be in the market for the right reasons, right? You need to think this is a market where you want to acquire and serve customers, that serves a strategic, purpose to your business, that you actually want to be in, right? And I think just having that mindset will save maybe a lot of headache and frustration that you would have if you just quickly want to go in and get something and leave.
I completely agree for us. Thanks for that. Sebastian, you were going to go next as well with your recommendation, I believe.
No, I very much agree with what you said, Firas. And besides that, I think it's super important to be here physically, to build those connections and to truly understand the market, and maybe more important for someone like me who don't have any other connections to the market. So to be here, to show your commitment, to get to know people and really understand how it works, I think that's very important.
Well put too, Sebastian. Thank you. Fanny, I see you've unmuted.
Yeah. No, I just want to say, agree with that point as well. True commitment here in this market is highly valued, should be here for the long term. Apart from that, I have two sort of tips. And the first one is sort of depending on what stage of development you're at, be flexible and be prepared to customize your product for initial implementations. I think this is something that clients here put a lot of value on. And then secondly, what I would want to say is that I think that this region is really a hub for testing your ideas. And there's an ability to be really bold and think big. So companies here like to see ambitious ideas from startups. So bring your ambitious ideas to the region.
For sure. Fanny, thank you. Hannah, your final golden nugget?
Yeah, sure. Mine, of course, comes from a slightly legal perspective, I guess, and that is that most of the visitors here to the webinar are probably coming from quite sophisticated markets and legal systems where, a startup is designed to fail fast, and the cost of starting up is generally not too prohibitive. The cost of protecting your intellectual property and all those sorts of things. But in more established markets, it's very cheap to start and keep starting again. One of the issues that is often raised with the region is that, yes, we all see the bright, shiny, there are no taxes, it's tax-free, but that means it comes with a lot of upfront costs, a lot of fees. And as a startup, you're having to pay those fees to be on the ground and have those relationships that you're trying to build up. So I guess my top tip would be to bear in mind that there are those fees. Very often a real estate play, you need to have premises and staff here on the ground to have to open an office here, and so with that comes high cost. So make sure you do your research, and when you're talking about if you are having to do a partnership with a local partner, or if you're trying to work out where in the region to establish yourself, take your time, do your research, and make sure you start up in the right place the first time, rather than having to unwind something later on that may not work for you, because there is a very high cost in that as well.
Super sound. Thanks, Hannah, for that. All right, everyone who's dialed in, I did leave some room for Q&A. If you navigate over to the toolbar, you'll see a box that says Q&A. Feel free to drop your Q&A in there. If you happen to have been dropping it in the chat box instead, someone from the team in the back is also going to be pulling those out. But I'll be moderating Q&A. We have up to 15 minutes allocated for that. It can either be a general question, which I'll ask of the panel and anyone can answer, or if you want to address your question to someone in specific, just write their name into the question in the Q&A box itself. So panelists, the first question comes from Rafka. He asks, how are you able to find up-to-date market data since data availability is a challenge in the region?
I think you have to go with what you find and then talk to people. I think and if you do research in Sweden, maybe you can ask one person and trust the answer. But here I try to speak to always at least 3 people and then create my own opinion, because you will get 3 different answers. It's my experience.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone else have any go-to references when they're doing research or trying to quantify things here?
I think from our experience, same as what Sebastian was saying, it really comes from engaging with clients and asking them a ton of questions, and then making up your own mind and doing your own sort of analysis. And for that, you need to be on the ground.
Thanks for sharing, Fanny. Happy to give my tidbit here too. I generally tell people to look at Magnet. Magnet is a data platform. They tend to publish industry reports, often on the trending industries in the region. So always just scroll through their database as well. I find that a lot of the startups I speak to find that platform helpful. Of course, clubbed with a lot of efforts and primary research from your end too. We can move on to the next question, which is from Bushra. Bushra asks, maybe you should try to contact Business to Sweden office in Dubai to facilitate for you. I'm curious, by the way, if any of you panelists have used the local government entities and support infrastructures from where you come from, and if you can shed light on support that you received that others can expect in planning your move over into the region.
So with What Three Words, we being a British company, we have a great relationship with the Department for International Trade, and through them we get help mostly, with let's say the British Council or similar sorts of government arms that operate in the region, and there we get access to events and stuff like that. You can register with them and basically have an idea of what they're doing in the region. So that could be something helpful to look at, maybe what part or what events do your government or collaborations do they have with the MENA region, and then kind of look at that as a pathway to get access to either events or partnerships.
That is definitely helpful. Thanks for us. Next question comes from Khalid. Khalid asks, how do you overcome the challenge of finding a market for early prototypes and ideas in the region, knowing that most VCs and investors are looking for revenue-generated businesses to support?
I think that's maybe the same answer as you would try to do it in Sweden or any other market, to try to get 1 or 2 users and speak to them and understand what they like and what they don't like, and then take it from there. I do agree, we're not raising money anymore, but when we did and spoke to a lot of VCs in the region, they are more revenue focused than Swedish VCs. So I think that's a difference in terms of raising money here locally compared to Europe. But what we did, we took our audiobook app and then we went out to speak to people in cafes in Cairo to get their feedback, and then we developed it from there and tried to understand what they liked and what they didn't like. So I think that's basically the same methodology as we would use in a market like Sweden.
Thanks for sharing, Sebastian. So the next question comes from Brian, and he asks, what are the parameters when taking into account and prioritizing which country you would consider entering first? Open for anyone to answer. I feel like we touched on some areas during the discussion, but if you all want to wrap up a few key parameters that you considered, that'd be great.
I guess it's different if you do a B2B or B2C product, but for us doing B2C, we look at population size, smartphone penetration, GDP and all of that. And then also a more soft analysis, like where do we believe that the interest for books and streaming are bigger than other countries. And from that, we decided which markets we decided to focus on in the beginning.
Thanks, Sebastian. Brian has a follow-up question where he asks, is finding or having a local partner a must? And if yes, sorry, 1 second. This thing jumped around. And if yes, could you have done it without a local partner?
From our perspective, we don't have a local partner, and I do not think it's a requirement if you're set up in one of the free zones. So I don't think it's a necessity, would be my very short answer to that. I don't know, maybe Hannah knows a little bit more about that from a legal perspective.
Yeah, that's right. I guess there's 2 concepts here. There's true local partner in terms of being able to incorporate your company and properly operate or distribute your product here, versus having local partners on the ground to share the love, to share the message of what you're trying to do and create. So no, the short answer is there are certainly ways around it and to set up without a local partner. It's certainly not, and sorry, I've forgotten the rest of the follow-up question.
I think that's helpful, Hannah. I think that we may have answered it from a like a legal requirement point of view, but if anyone can shed lights on someone going into having someone, let's say, going through the process of having a local partner, not for legal establishment reasons, but for collabing with someone who may already have a foot in the door. This is the other way you can also interpret the question.
Yeah, I think some industries might be a bit more difficult to crack at the current time, and this kind of also relates to maybe a lack of availability of data or just general information. So having a local partner, I think, can really help you navigate the system more quickly. And then I think another thing already touched on is maybe whether you're a B2B or B2C business. So with B2C, obviously with the more modern ways of marketing digitally, you can probably launch campaigns and consumer campaigns yourself. A local partner might always kind of expedite that, but with the B2B side, it might help to have introductions as opposed to being able to market to consumers directly. So just a thought.
That Aramex name does help, yes.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, panelists, Firas, Sebastian, Hannah, Fanny, thank you all very much for your time. I hope people who've tuned in have picked up some learnings and can implement them when looking to expand into MENA. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Fantastic. So I'm going to stay on the line with my camera on because we're going to be having a fireside chat with Zarko, who's the Group Sales Manager of GITEX Future Stars. Zarko and I know each other, so Zarko, nice to see you again.
Hi,
virtually.
Shirin. How are you? How's everything?
Good.
I like this
Not too
fireside
bad.
chat, lots of fire going on in here.
It's more like it's a virtual chat, but
I know.
We could have maybe
hello
had
to
a
everyone,
different.
by the way, the entire Startup Sweden team, everybody out there. Very good chats, very good questions, Shirin. And thanks to all who are participating right now, and great so far conversations that you're going on.
Super. Well, thank you for the nice words, Zarko. So we are going to spend the next 15 minutes or so chatting about GITEX and GITEX Future Stars so that everyone who's tuning in can make it over next time we have an event. At least, honestly, what I tell people when they message me saying, hey, what is the leading, ed tech event, fintech event, health tech event, whatever tech event, I say, listen, there's one event of the year, and that is GITEX, and you need to go there, and if you're a startup, you go to GFS. But those are my words. So in your words, Zarko, how would you explain to people GITEX, GFS, and the difference between them?
Sure. I mean, yeah, probably the same. Just kidding. No, so GITEX is basically the largest tech event in the Middle East, Africa, and Southeast Asia. So we are #1 in our part of the world, and probably second globally. And GITEX is an event that all the key tech players like Oracle, Huawei, Microsoft, you name it, they come to the show. The big SMEs, the big corporates, the government entities to do business with each other. So it's a very B2B, B2G, and G2G event. It lasts for 5 days, as Laureline mentioned, from the 17th to the 21st of October this year. Yeah, I mean, we were the only event last year that ran live. So probably we were the best last year, I guess. I don't know. So GITEX Future Stars on the other hand. But GITEX Future Stars on the other hand, it's the startup event of GITEX. So GITEX, it's important to mention that it's been running for 41 years. This year is the 41st year of GITEX. So it's a fairly well-established event. Everybody in this part of the world, when you mention GITEX, they just can't wait to come. Like they wait for the entire year. Every year people come back and the show keeps on growing. So about 6 years ago, we launched GITEX Future Stars, GFS. It was launched because we wanted to be in line with the initiatives of the government here and how everybody started. The government here, as you know, Shirin, it's mandated to support entrepreneurs. They all have now accelerator programs launched within different government entities. So to be in line with that vision, because World Trade Center, it's a semi-government entity as well, we decided to launch a startup event to offer the startups a platform where they can come and meet with the entire startup ecosystem. So the show started 6 years ago with the 200 startups, and just before the pandemic, we had over like 700 startups and 75 countries participated at the show. Last year, obviously, it was a bit challenging year because of the pandemic. We still managed to pull off a fantastic event. I think you were there.
I was there.
But yeah, I mean, we had about 250 startups from over 30 countries. Believe it or not, we were actually overwhelmed with the attendance. We were not expecting that. And yeah, it went really well. And this year we're expecting going back to the 2019 years, considering now that, you know, first of all, the pandemic, we're all hoping that it's going to be done. Well, not done, but at least it's going to be a little bit more relaxed by then. Expo, it's happening, as Lauralyn mentioned, 3 weeks before us. So we're expecting a lot of audience coming through. And yeah, I think another important part to mention is that we're running this show. It's actually this year, it's running with few other events. So we're going to have a fintech event in parallel co-located with us. We're going to have a blockchain event. We're going to have an AI event called AI Everything. And we're going to have a marketing event called Marketing MENA. So you have about 6 co-located events running all together. Why I'm saying this is because for startups who are coming from these particular sectors, there will be a little bit of extra opportunities at the show for them this year. So yeah, we look forward to the event, and you know, that's kind of in a nutshell. I hope that answered your question.
It does. So given that you say there's going to be an opportunity, do you mind elaborating? Would this opportunity come if someone was to just attend and walk around and partake in the event? Or would someone really need to get a booth and man themselves there and have an opportunity come to them instead?
I mean, look, obviously everybody's welcome to come and visit the show. And obviously the support and the opportunities are much higher for people who are actually participating at the event, because they're the guys who come and invest and who spend their time and money to be able to generate something out of it, right? So definitely if you come as a visitor, you will come to see the show and go and visit some stands and go around seeing activations and talks. But if you come to exhibit at the event as a participant and to have like your own presence, physical presence, where you can demo your solutions, you're actually exposed to few opportunities that the show offers. So one, GITEX Future Stars has a Supernova Challenge competition, okay? This is our own pitch competition where we as World Trade Center give away $200,000 US to the best startups out there. So that's only for the startups who are participating at the event. Second, we run an investor program at the event, okay? So what does that mean? We host about 400 plus investors at the show every year. These guys are either from this part of the world, they come from, or they come internationally as well. So we have a dedicated investor lounge at the event. It's pretty big. And this is where startups who are participating at the event get involved into that program, and we do concierge service matchmaking opportunities between the startups and investors. So we take the profile of the startup, and then we take the profile of the investor, and then 1 month before the show, we start doing the matchmaking. So during the days, there is back-to-back meetings between startups and investors. Now, what we realized in the past many years, that a lot of the startups that come, they're not only after investment, they're actually looking after clients, right? So we work this year on creating a corporate buyer program. What does that mean? Is that startups who are ready to actually start working with a client, and clients who are ready to work with startups, we've created that program. We're in the process of creating that program right now, where they can finally meet with like the likes of Visa or like Microsoft or like, you know, some of the government accelerators here. So there is more on that side of meetings as well. And obviously the startups will then be able to come and demo their solution. They can attend speaking sessions for free if they're participating at the show, and so on and so forth.
You mentioned a spotlight on fintech. Are there any other trending themes that you think that startups in those thematic areas can get extra leverage and opportunity by partaking in GFS?
Yeah, so fintech is one of them for sure, because as you know, Dubai is like it's probably the #1 financial hub here.
It is the #1, not probably.
It is, and it's growing to be among the top globally. So fintech is a super important topic in this part of the world, but AI, blockchain, marketing are the other sectors that we're looking at. Plus, this year we're launching something called creative economy. Okay, so what is that? It's we're trying to focus on startups who are in arts, in fashion, so fashion tech, art tech, music tech, because we think that there is a lots of opportunities there as well, including sports tech as well. So we are adding something new to the show, because you always have this like regular, the smart cities, the e-commerce, but we want to focus more on these other alternative, right, sectors such as fashion tech, and there is plenty in those as well. You would be surprised on the research that we've done in the past. So there is opportunities for all, but yeah, if you're in these specific sectors, definitely there will be something more to add to these startups at the show.
You caught my attention when you said sports tech. I thought, ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, sports tech, yeah.
Are there startups? Come to GITEX and find out more, basically.
Yeah.
I'm curious, are there any particular success stories that you can highlight from GITEX or GFS, let's say, given that we're very startup focused in the event today? And it can be a success story from any of the recent previous years, not necessarily next year.
Yeah. No, good question. A lot of people ask us these questions, right? So at GFS, we tend to make startups stars, right? That's why the show it's called GITEX Future Stars. So we have had startups who come to the event. First of all, from a media point of view, we've had startups being featured on BBC, CNN that come to our show. That's from the PR side of things. From an investment side of things, we've had startups who have definitely been invested in. I have friends who are investors who have clearly told me we're going ahead with this deal. Some of the deals they don't disclose, but it starts anywhere from like $1 million and above. These investments deals, I know for a fact that a lot of investors have invested in our startups, and that's why they keep on returning to the show, because for the investors, this is creating leads for them. More specifically, when it comes to the client side of things, last year we had few startups signing on the spot with different clients. We had one startup, they're called Sky River Systems. So they do they create water out of thin air. That's their tagline. So they actually signed a deal with one of the hotels here to distribute environmentally friendly water systems to their hotels. And others, there is plenty of startups that do deals, post the show, and then we get to find out if we're in touch with them, we speak to them, and then they give us feedback, and then obviously we write about them, we do testimonials. So we have covered all of those, and I think after this webinar we can share the presentation for GFS, and the guys can read up and know about other testimonials. We got plenty of them. So it does that answer the question, Serena?
It does, yeah. And look, I personally attend GFS every year that I've been in the ecosystem professionally, let's say. I always have a blast, even if I don't go there with a particular objective from a business point of view. I just want to see who's out there innovating and doing cool things. So I look forward to seeing who will be your rising stars in your supernova challenges this year.
Yeah, we also look forward to that as well. I mean, Shireen, you can confirm as well. I mean, when you come to the show, it's the entire startup ecosystem, especially from the Middle East region. Like I'm talking about Saudi, Bahrain, Kuwait, UAE.
Everyone flies into Dubai for this.
Everyone is here. Everyone is here. It's a great feeling to see everybody networking and coming together, because it's become that platform that connects everybody from the entire region here. And now our mission is to bring more of the internationals. Yes, it's a super international show, believe it or not. 50% of our startups are international, so it's very international. We're trying to bring more. So hopefully we can, Sweden, it's coming, and we're hopefully going to see more Swedish startups at the show this year. So yeah.
I concur. Zarka, thank you for your time. It was wonderful having our virtual fireside chat.
Easy questions. I thought you were going to go hard on me here, so I'm relieved.
No, not that kind of person. It's a Thursday.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's the weekend here. Yeah. By the way, Friday and Saturday is the weekend in Dubai. And
it is.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Shireen. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shireen, and thank you so much, Zarko. To start the final part of our webinar, I just would like to introduce I just would like to introduce Dawn to take part to this session. She is from Startup Sweden, and Sarah Beacon also. So please, Dawn, over to you to tell us a little bit more about what is doing Startup Sweden, and then this new partnership with Sarah.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Laureline. Yes, I'm the project manager for a accelerator program that we're having in Dubai later this year. We are super excited to organize such a program. This is our first time in the MENA region, and hopefully it won't be the last time. The program will run over 5 days in Dubai, starting from the 17th of October. Personally, I'm delighted because I lived in Abu Dhabi for 8 years, and I understand the opportunities in the region. So the program is open for female founders of tech startups, no matter where they are based in the world. Mixed founding teams are also welcome to apply, as long as there is a female in the founding team. For ineligible startups, I encourage you to look at GITEX Future Stars as a way to get started in MENA. Here in Sweden, we are very much focused on gender equality. And at Startup Sweden, we sometimes run our programs with a focus on female entrepreneurship, just like with this program. So for Access MENA, we are looking for tech startups that are globally ambitious, have registered their business in their home country, have launched their scalable tech product, is able to show some sort of growth, be that in the user base or engagement rate or some other metrics, is either revenue focused or have received significant funding. As a participant in the program, we offer 100% customized program based on the startup specific needs. So what does that mean? So for example, if you're a Cairo-based startup looking to enter the UAE, then we can help. For non-MENA-based startups, say from Sweden or Europe, we help you evaluate which countries in the region are a good fit, a product market fit for you, and also advise on where you should be focusing your efforts. If it's investor meetings that you are after, we organize individual meetings with local investors. So I guess the whole purpose of the program is to give you local market intelligence from local mentors. Each participant will receive at least 3 meetings with potential customers or partners, and that is based on the startup's wish list. And of course, included in the program is access to GITEX and GITEX Future Stars. You can expect half-day sessions during the week, as we understand as a founder, you still have to run your company. So we are quite flexible that you can organize your own meetings and do the networking bit. So applications for the program is open until the 13th of June. It is a free program. Startup Sweden doesn't take any equity, and you can find the application form and more details about the program on our website, which is startupsweden.com. Now, none of this is possible without the help of a local partner. And I must say, it's the local partners are critical to the success of our market access programs. The Startup Sweden has been running market access programs to the UK and the US for several years now. And I just want to give you an example of, how successful this type of program can be for a startup. So last year in August, we ran our UK program digitally, and 4 of those companies in the group are now established in the UK. So that's in less than 12 months and in the midst of a pandemic. For us, that's a terrific result. And we are so happy to be working closely with our local partner in Dubai for this program, Astrolabs. And Sarah's going to, provide some information about Astrolabs on their experience with running accelerator programs, and also describe the broad network that they have built up in the region. Over to you.
Thanks, Dawn. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are. My name is Sarah. I'm one of the directors here at Astrolabs. Astrolabs, in case you are not aware of who we are and what we do, we are one of the region's largest entrepreneurial and tech ecosystem builder. We've been around since about 2013, and we have run really a lot of entrepreneurial programs since then, with everything from large global organizations such as UPS to local retailers such as Shaloub, the Shaloub Group, right through to a lot of work with government partners here in the UAE, where I'm based, and also KSA. So there is a lot of really great opportunities, I think, here within the region, particularly around the kind of the typical hubs, if you like, of the UAE and KSA, which is growing really quickly for people like you and entrepreneurs. Other parts of our business include an academy where we've trained people in tech and digital. We have an in-house tech recruitment and headhunting arm, and we've also helped organizations, tech startups and large companies scale here in the region within the UAE and KSA. So what we're really excited about for this program is being able to tap into that network that we've built up really brick by brick, person by person over the last kind of 8 years or so here in the region, to help you guys as founders hit the ground running. So, this is a team of people that's built by entrepreneurs, myself included. We know how difficult it is not only to get going and get launched in the country that but how it is to scale that somewhere else. And we're really committed and extremely excited to be working with Dawn and the Startup Sweden team to see how we can understand what your needs are, understand how your products and services can be relevant within this region for the particular customers that you're targeting, and do everything we can in this program at the end of the year to be able to get you in front of the people that matter, whether that's an investor, whether that's a customer, whether that's a partner. That's really what we're here to work with the Startup Sweden team to help you guys hit the ground running. So I really do encourage you all to apply, all eligible people to apply. One of the great things about the UAE, at least where I'm based and which has been home for me for the last 10 years, is it really is a startup itself. It has pivoted from a desert to oil and gas to financial services, and to this, there really is this thriving tech ecosystem that is really within half an hour drive for everyone. So it's a great opportunity to jump in, immerse yourself not only with the community here and get to know everyone. The community is relatively small, so you can get to know your peers and your colleagues and your friends and maybe your co-founders. but also to use people like us, to use people like GITEX to really get you guys in front of, get you guys to the front of the queue with your next customers and your next partners. So thank you, Dawn, for the opportunity to speak, and we're really excited to get started.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Sarah. Perhaps if anyone has any questions about the program, they can just post them in the chat and we can address those. So a minute or two, anyone? No, I think we've been very clear, Sarah. No questions, so that's fantastic. Listen, on behalf of Startup Sweden and GITEX Future Stars, I would like to thank you for joining us today and wish you a great rest of the day or evening. Thanks, bye.